Hi, I'm Aaron, the co-founder of Big Tiny World Travel. In this video, I'm going to show you why traveling the world is cheaper than living at home and how you can do the same. When I was growing up, I always thought only the rich can travel the world and I needed $1 million to do it. All I saw on TV were people riding around on yachts, renting luxurious hotels, and eating at fancy restaurants. There was no way a kid like me from the poorest neighborhood of town would ever amount to that. Or if I did, I would have to wait till retirement because maybe then I would have enough money. Today I'm going to tell you that not only is world travel possible for just about anyone, but it also costs far less than living everyday life at home. First of all, the idea that travel is crazy expensive is the mentality of what I like to call the restricted vacationer. This person takes 2-week vacations that cost many thousands of dollars, and the trip is jam-packed with activities, tours, expensive hotels, pools, jacuzzis, and meals fit for a king. After all, they deserve this because they only have 2 precious weeks a year to travel. But what does that type of travel really even mean? Do you get back thinking, wow, what a trip? Crawl back into that desk, part hungover and exhausted from the whirlwind? Was there a meaning to the trip? Are these memories going to last a lifetime? Maybe they will, maybe they won't. That was the mentality I used to have, and this is how it has changed. It took me nearly 40 years, 40 years before I even left the country. I took 4 international trips before I took a big year-long trip around the world, and that has changed my life forever. There is a complete mindset shift from who I was to who I am now. Let's call me the unlimited traveler. The unlimited traveler isn't always looking for cushy, sanitized experiences. They want to live like locals, experience local food, stay in the homes of locals, get off the tourist trail, and be true explorers. This person seeks meaningful connections with people, making new friends and supporting local communities. They seek the experience around every corner and the freedom that travel brings. The unlimited traveler is addicted to exploring new cities, hiking the glaciers, people watching, trying phrases in a new language, and doing all of this for less than a quarter of what daily life is in the United States. You heard that right? Sure, I splurged on plenty of activities, but was offsetting with so many free ways to travel. Let's take a look at our 6 months in Europe versus 6 months in the US, living a normalish life for me, my wife, and 2 cats. Cats, not kids. Let's start with the biggest living expense, lodging. At home, we paid an average of $1,500 a month for rent. That would be $9,000 for 6 months. During our 6 months in Europe, we spent a total of $2,400 or $400 per month for lodging. That is $6,600 cheaper just on the lodging alone, excluding utilities. I bet you wonder how we managed that. We had 4.5 months of free stays. No, we weren't in tents or sleeping on sidewalks. We had our own home most of the time, fully equipped condos, apartments, or even $1 million homes for free. This was possible through a program called Trusted House Sitters, where we watched pets in exchange for lodging. Some stays were between 2 days and as much as 2 weeks or more. We saw listings for even as much as 6 months. Even if you want to take a vacation to a new city for 2 weeks, you can also do this. There are other free stay programs like Couchsurfing, where you live with locals. This is a powerful way to get to know the local culture and get local recommendations on things to do. Our hosts have often showed us around their cities and even cooked us some amazing food. There is no money exchanged, but it is nice to leave them a little gift to show gratitude. We made so many good memories using this platform and still stay in contact with all of the friends we have made all around the world. A vacationer would get hotels everywhere and spend a fortune, where a traveler thinks creatively about living more like a local and having more meaningful experiences. Let's move on to transportation costs, our next largest expense. While in Europe, we tried to minimize flights as much as was reasonable and took buses to get between countries. The buses there are quite comfortable and we never felt unsafe on any of them. Once we were in these countries, we would rarely rent a car and instead take the local ground transportation. Besides, the journey is part of the fun. Even if we did rent a car, they are so much cheaper than in the US at about $8 to $15 per day, which is insanely cheap compared to $45 per day in America. The only time we ever get cars was when we did little road trips or if we're staying in more remote areas. These transportation methods helped us really save big compared to our costs in America. In Europe, we spent $4,500 for the two of us for 6 months, including flights. At home, we had a car with gas, insurance, maintenance, and car payments adding up to about $6,600 for that same time. At least we had only one car. Most Americans have two for a couple. Unlike a vacationer who would likely rent a car to get around Europe, we would always find cheaper ways to travel. Moving on. Now let's talk about the difference in food costs. While living at home, we cooked most of our own meals and went out to eat about once a week on average. This amounted to about $1,000 a month in food expenses. I'm sure many of you don't spend anywhere near this, but for comparison purposes, we spent about $700 a month on food and restaurants in Europe following the same principles. Both amounts also covered alcohol, which is far cheaper in Europe. We had bottles of wine for less than $3, where the same exact bottles would be $15 to $20 at home. A typical vacationer would eat out at restaurants for all of their meals except breakfast, so by cooking our own meals, we also saved much more than anyone taking a typical vacation. Last but not least are activities. We are not budget travelers, so we did spend money on activities, and that was easier because we were saving so much in other areas. Still, we were very selective in what we did and if it was worth it. We would seek out discounts on Groupon or elsewhere online for places like the Ice Bar in Amsterdam. In some cities, we would pick up a city card if we planned on doing a lot of activities like seeing a bunch of museums, restaurants, gondolas, and building rooftops with views. The card usually paid for itself with just a few activities. Also, we would do free city tours, which most cities have all around the world. These tours are run by locals, mostly students, who talk about the local history, culture, and explain different points of interest. These are a great way to get oriented to a new city and also get tips for some activities that only locals know about off the beaten path. While they are labeled as free, they do work for tips and they are definitely worth it for the value that they provide. Sometimes just walking around the city is an activity and it costs nothing. We are definitely explorer types and try to get lost walking around. There is so much art, interesting architecture, colorful buildings, and even people to see. Sitting on a bench in a local park and people watching can also be free and an entertaining way to spend your time. Holidays, events, and festivals are also fun, free activities. We only spent about $900 on activities during our 6 months in Europe, where most vacationers would spend that on a 2-week vacation. Vacationers using their only here once mentality would try to jam-pack as many activities as possible. They would take paid tours to get all of the highlights done quickly, not always looking at discount options. Whereas a traveler will never settle for any stated price and will find other ways to save big on activities. They do this while also connecting with the locals and diving deep into a new place with many free activities. Overall, this is what we spent in 6 months in Europe for 2 people, $12,341. To compare that to our living expenses, we spent about double that at about $24,000. So the supposedly expensive Europe doesn't have to be all that expensive. This number would go down much more in parts of Asia, but we will have to save that for another video. While you are here, we have something special coming up that you won't want to miss. We have just created a new program called the Unlimited Travelers Club. Inside the club, we will dive deeper into the topics in this video and so much more. We will help you transform from a restricted vacationer to an unlimited traveler. This doesn't mean you have to travel full time. It just means if you want to take a trip, you can, and whenever you want. We will teach you how to have more meaningful trips and also help you save and earn while you are traveling. We will bring in several unlimited travelers to provide different perspectives and even destination-specific information. We obviously don't know everything. As a bonus, we are also including our cheaper flight finder that will beat any flight price you find and will teach you how we found a better deal. In our program, you will become your own travel expert and will know how to unlimit your own travels. And put money where it really matters, it doesn't have to cost $1 million. Come join us in the Unlimited Travelers Club. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that bell and subscribe. Check the description for more information on the Unlimited Travelers Club. And I will see you in the next video.